Hi, I'm Cheryl Despathi, and this is my project on understanding dyslexia accommodation. So I'm going to begin with the course objectives. It just kind of talks about identify common best practices and to generate a handout or worksheet. So I want to be able to use the terms for objectives for instructional design, but I'm not really sure how to really phrase my course objectives when at the end of it I just want them to really have a reinforced simulation of being able to pick the best practices. I'm not necessarily giving it to them, except that I want them to play it over and over and over again. Although now that I've read this week's chapters, I'm a little concerned that this is simply discovery learning, which is bad. So this is my character. This is Mr. Boyle. He introduces himself, talking about he has 2 students. This is what he's going to be doing today. This is how you know if you're going to have been successful. So the expectations are clear from the beginning. Then he introduces us to the 2 students that we might see throughout the presentation or throughout the tutorial. And this is Fred and Fiona. And they kind of talk about, like, help us by helping everyone else. And so the idea is that by helping students with dyslexia, you're actually helping all of your students. So the first scenario is here. It doesn't have any dialogue because I was trying not to put like all of the text on the screen along with audio, but he's going to explain, like, I'm creating a worksheet for this project. This is what I have so far, and this is kind of what I created. This took me a really long time to make the template, so I'm really glad that I made the investment because I think that it's paying off, although it's definitely going to take me time. And the only thing I'm disappointed with is just how little the computer screen is, but without it, I couldn't really make it as obvious that it was the laptop screen from the previous slide, which is here on his desk. So yeah, there's lots of mistakes in this particular one. I didn't really have time to like type it all in, but I'm going to take from a real project that I did. And basically they're going to say, so when I make this worksheet, like, which should I pick? And so obviously there's a little bit of missing dialogue here, but it's basically that the user will then be able to make the decision about font type, font size, and there'll be 12 scenarios total. So for example, this would be if you pick the best scenario from here. So right now I have them in order, but I want to be able to mix them up so it's not just obvious, like, oh, you always pick the top one. And I want to make it so that it's not so easy. So for this one I put, like, when picking a font I went to use a serif font because it makes it easier to follow the lines from the serif markers. It's kind of like a trick as to like what I've heard a lot of common like misconceptions about why you would pick certain fonts or use certain sizes. And so then if you pick the best option, it would put you to A, and you would then have the scenario play for you, which is currently like my complicated part is like I don't know how to make it like a video versus just like all show up. So this is the one thing that I really want feedback on is if I have it linked to go to this slide, how do I show the option or the scenario and then show the correct options? Is it literally that I'm going to have to create different scenes? Or is it possible to keep it all within the same scene and then just have it on the slide where each slide would just kind of be an option? So I've maxed it to 5 options total. So my first one kind of branches from A, B, C. If you go to A, then you get A, B, and C for options. If you go to B, then you get B, C, D. If you go to C, then you get C, D, E. And from there, every time someone picks the E choice, if they ever end up on that kind of slide with that option, they get eliminated. And the goal is that you need to be able to survive all 12 scenarios by picking the best one. And at the end, depending on if you were sort of at the A level, the B level, the C level, or the D level, it will tell you kind of where you rank and allow you to keep playing until you pick all the best choices. I'm not really sure how yet if I'm going to assign like a number of points to each slide, and so the true-false variable will be like every time, or the number variable, every time you pick a choice A, you get 5 points, B 4, 3, C, etc., etc., and so that'll kind of help them see, oh, okay, by the end, I theoretically should have had 60 points. I scored a 55 out of 60, which means I probably picked a B choice a couple of times, but then I rebounded to A. The only thing is that if you pick a B choice at any point, you will never have an A option available. So that's my current problem. And this is kind of like what my scenario would look like. So if you ever pick B, like, you can never rebound to picking an A scenario again, which I don't know if this is the correct way I'm supposed to branch, but I've got it. So this is kind of what the scenario looks like, and then it will go from like 5 to 10. So I've never done branching. This is really complicated. I just tried to like map for myself kind of where it would go because it would help me align like the number of slides. So like this would be one slide, this would be another slide, a third, and a fourth. And I felt like it kind of made it easier for me to understand like where the buttons were supposed to link to. And then at the end I would sort of condense it down where I would actually make a D choice, only 2 options, But I've got all the options from my SME where I kind of wrote it all out. I love computers, but I also sometimes just like working with a pencil and paper. So I wrote out a bunch of things for the different scenarios for the 12 options. So anyway, that's where I'm at with my project. I'm not very far along, and I would love some help trying to figure out the whole branching thing, because I'm not really worried about putting my slides together. I'm really actually worried about how do I link the slides in the most appropriate manner so that this isn't like done in 5 minutes, which currently I feel like that's what's going to happen. So anyway, thanks for your feedback.